So in this video, I'm going to return closer to home, just southwest of Las Cruces. There's this big lava flow on Stahmann Farms. I'd seen some glyphs scratched into the surface here before, so I returned to it and took a closer look. As you can see, the people didn't make the lava flow, but they sure modified it to make it look like this. There's basin to the right, you have a bird's head, and the whole shape of the mesa here, the lava flow, is like a giant bird. And if you face to the left, you see it kind of forms a face with a nose and some eyes and a kind of funky hairdo. And like a lot of these glyphs all over the place, they use both the negative, the light areas, and the positive, the dark areas, to form glyphs. So as we zoom in closer at the head of the bird facing to the right, you can see some red material in here. There's other glyphs at a smaller scale built into the larger glyph. Again, like there usually is. See a lot of nice line work there made out of dark lava rock, and then all this red lava rock, which doesn't occur here. Kind of another look at it. So, not real sure what all these figures are supposed to look like. They can look like parrots one way and a face the other. So here's the material that's actually up there. They took some of this lava hill here and they carved it out again into probably some bird glyph and who knows what other kinds of glyphs if you face it different directions. And it's not reddish material. So if you go up on the mesa to the west, there are hills, lava hills, that are red. And this one again has been modified to look like a bird glyph. So this, I believe, is where all that red material came from. There's another one out there called Little Black Hill or Little Black Mountain. Also looks like it's been turned into a different glyph form. Anyway, this is a little ways away, and what I figured already from seeing some other glyphs that had been colored, that they probably floating material down canals. And so there are some major canals that I found coming from those lava hills back down to the area of Stahmann Farms. So, and here's what I think is a glyph on the side of the hill of a guy riding on a raft. Another look at that. Again, you might have kind of multiple faces or one face at the top, and a guy looks like he's holding some reins, almost like on a sled. That's what I kind of thought it was at first, but that didn't make sense. So if we look at the whole mesa again, the part at the top is to the south, and sort of at a large scale, it also forms some sort of bird glyph. And as you zoom in, you can kind of see that those light areas form other glyphs. So here's a close-up one. It's kind of harder to see, but some sort of bird beak or bird. As you zoom out, you can kind of see it has some sort of tail, maybe like a parrot. And now, as you zoom even farther out, you get this light area that's like the baby birds, and he's feeding the baby, or this bird is feeding the baby birds. Take a couple looks at that. And this is all done to look this way. They modified the hills. So if you kind of turn that part around and look another way, you can see a different kind of glyph, maybe a man or an animal's head wearing a quetzal, coatl on his head. Some other glyphs, kind of a look at it from a different year, different satellite photo. Different light areas appear to be glyphs, but then the dark areas probably are too. Another look at that. Now here's another one. It's another bird, and the whole top of this hill looks like it's kind of been flattened off, and that red lava rock has been brought in. I don't know if this one wasn't finished or if that's the way it looked. Now here, kind of on top of the hill, more towards the center, there's all this soil area where it's flat, and there's a whole bunch of different features there. I determined that the airfield that is here and all the roads and all these different disturbances here are all part of the prehistoric glyph system. Might be a couple things that were added later, but almost all of it, they followed what was there when they got there, the historic people did. So here's on a fairly large looking glyph, a guy wearing a Quetzalcoatl suit, and I think he's riding on one of these rafts. There's a smaller one below him. There's a closer up view of him. And here's what I mean, down kind of part of the glyph that he's on. As you get lower, you see there's this other guy here that's, I think, also riding on one of these rafts down the canal. So if you go to the slope of the lava field here, all along the river and all the way around up onto the West Mesa, there's glyphs. And these I was looking at in the negative, at the light part, and this also looks like a bird riding on some other animal, and again I think that's a raft that he's riding on. Different views of that. So I'll go around a little more along, and there's a Quetzalcoatl carved into the side of the hill. That's like a terrace or a bench that's been carved back in, and to the left there's another like bird head coming out in the same way, carved into the side of the hill. Close up of that Quetzalcoatl head, I think those are piles of rock, kind of greenish rock on that bench, or there could be bushes that grew in holes that they've done. It's kind of hard sometimes to see on Google Earth. And if you go around the scarp, you see all this sort of light colored space are glyphs, but then so are the dark. So it's all the way around. The whole thing is just one big string of glyphs. Look at a few more all the way, take you all the way around. Here they start to, you can start seeing the red. So again, I believe all this red material was brought in. And a lot of these, again, I think they form Quetzalcoatls in the positive. And there's one that actually looks pretty sharp. And there's the head. So real quick here, I'll show you kind of to the north of the lava flow along the west side of the river valley. Down here low, a whole bunch of more diversion dams, maybe places where they didn't finish some glyphs. Continue to the north a little bit, another dam system and reservoir probably forming a glyph. Couple big reservoir features. This is all just to the north of the lava flow. And then this thing that looks kind of like a thing I've seen before in Mesoamerican art, this serpent head with all these tentacles coming out of it. Back out, you see it. And that's pretty interesting, pretty cool looking. Anyway, look back at the whole thing there. And it shows you how they took the landscape and modified it into some really huge geoglyphs.